What's going on, guys? Welcome back to M2E Carnage. Today we've got a nice saucy video for you where we're going to be having a look at different GoPro mounting options for mountain biking. So we've got one on the chin bar, one on the top of my cranium, and one on the top of my sternum.
Yeah, so in our opinion, these are the three best mounts to try, and we're going to be comparing them today. So as Flynn said, the chin, top of the helmet, and chesty, and we'll compare them and see how they perform. And for this testing, we're using the GoPro Hero 10 with skills with field settings and the wind cover. So yeah, so for first up, we're using the chin mount, and we're going down Eagle vs Shark, which is a flowy trail with some jumps, and let's see how it goes. Alright, so we're starting off with Eagle, and it's super windy, so hopefully the wind cover will do some goodness. The chin mount is my personal favorite of the mounts. The one downside is that you do have to wear a full face each time you want to wear this mount. So, but I do believe that gives the best stability because most of the time your head's staying still, as where the chesty your body can move around a lot. It's quite high off the ground, but it's not so high off the ground like with the top of the helmet mount where you lose too much definition in the trail. So yeah, for filming videos I personally prefer this chin mount. Alright, so now we're gonna test out the chin mount on more chunky stuff. So we're here on Tamonga, the outside section, and we're gonna go up and down with each mount, and we'll see which performs the best. Now we thought Tamonga would be a good test because there's heaps of these braking bumps, which would, you know, give a good test to the trail chatter performance of the different types of mounts. The stabilization on the GoPro Hero 10 is already pretty insane, so you know, bumps don't really affect it that much, but you know, it's just better to see it on a different trail. But yeah, I think the helmet mounts on more chunky stuff like Tamonga perform better than the chesty because the head's more stable. But yeah, let's go up and see how the chesty and top of the helmet mount performs.
Let's go!
Boom.
Alright guys, now we're going to chuck you onto the chesty and we're going to do another lap. So let's get it! So you're on the chesty now, and I actually really like the chesty because you can see a bit more of the handlebars and you can kind of see what riders are actually doing. Yeah, I personally do quite like the chesty because you can wear it quite casually. You don't really have to, you know, have a full face, which is a lot nicer. The chesty, as you've seen, it's a bit more unstable, so you might not see as much of your riding just because it's a bit looser, and that's just down to the chesty design. It's quite small. Oh. But yeah, I quite like the chesty. It's real comfortable too, but it's the least stable option just because it's just some straps holding it to your chest. So I think the chesty is a bit better for if you don't want to wear your full face but still want to get some decent footage. That is the run on the chesty. So we'll see you back up at the top. So I think the Chesty will probably be the worst on this section, on the rougher stuff, just because it's the just because it's the least secure, because it's literally just held on by some straps and you don't really have any other way to, I mean, yeah, you can tighten it up, but the straps come loose pretty easily. So if you're planning on trying to use a Chesty, I'd kind of highly recommend using a aftermarket one. But it still does pretty good on the rough stuff because it's pretty unobtrusive. Doesn't really mess up your riding. You don't really notice it while riding. One thing to note, you do notice it on the climbs, just because it's kind of tight around your chest. So you can always loosen it off. And yeah, that's the end of the Chesty testing.
Right, so up next we've got on top of the helmet. Now this I think is the most popular in beginner mountain biking and the least popular in mountain bike content creation, and that's just because of the angle, and I think it produces the least quality video, but it is the easiest to use, as you just need to stick a mount on your helmet and then you're good to go. But with that being said, let's do some testing. Alright, on the Headcam now. In my opinion, it is the easiest to get set up and the most beginner friendly, because you can kind of do whatever angle you want. But some of the downsides, as I'm sure you've already seen, you get way less trail definition. Yeah, like I said, you get way less trail definition, and you also can't see as much of the handlebars. But one of the main downsides to having it on the helmet is when it's windy like today and you don't have a wind cover on, you can hear everything except nothing. All you can hear is the wind, and it's pretty painful to listen to when you get home and you want to hear your sick footage and all you can hear is the wind. So that is one thing to keep in mind for sure. I think the head mount is probably one of the less intrusive options, just because you don't notice it. You only notice the head mount when you first start riding it. And as long as your helmet's tight enough, you barely notice it after a while. But you do also accidentally sometimes clip it on stuff. But another bonus is, unlike the Chesty, the GoPro will see where you're looking, so you can kind of understand, or the audience can see what you're looking at. So that's quite cool, which is similar to the chin bar, but it's just higher up. But yeah, going to the end of Eagle here. So then we'll get on to some more rough stuff on the Headcam. In my opinion, Headcam's the most popular, but like the worst, just because you don't see as much of the rider as you do with the other two setups. But it's also extremely stable, which is definitely a plus. I've got on the Highline here. But I think it's a lot more stable than the Chesty, so it has its benefits there, whereas the Chesty shakes around a lot. But the main thing with the Headcam is you hear a lot more wind, so you kind of have to have a wind cover. You also have to have quite a tight fitting helmet, otherwise your helmet will slide down, because the GoPro weighs a lot compared to the rest of everything else. But yeah, that's the Headcam. We'll have a look at some results. Alright, so there we go. That's our little testing section done. So now let's list the pros and cons of each mount. Alright, so first up we have the pros of the chin bar mount. So in my opinion, and Casey's opinion, we both think it's a very stable mount, and we also think it shows a really good amount of rider definition and trail definition. So you can see all the little intricate parts of the trail, as well as riders' handlebars and a bit of the frame. For general trails, we think that the wind noise on this mount is very good because it's not out in the wind, comparing that to the head mount where it's a lot louder. One of the main pros of this mount is it's very general and you can use it on any trail. It doesn't have a very specific trail in mind to use it on. Alright, now for the cons of the chin mount. So the only con we found with the chin bar mount is that you have to have a full face, and you also have to wear the full face when using it.
this can be quite a con on real hot days where you don't want to wear your full face, and it also means you have to buy an expensive full face. Alright, with that being said, let's get on to the next mount.
Okay, so now onto the chest mount. So for the pros of these for this mount, firstly, it's quite low. It's the lowest mount to the ground, so you can see the most trail definition. And we both also think that you notice this mount the least while riding because there's not extra weight on your head. So now for the cons of this mount. So there's quite a few. Firstly, when you're going through really chunky stuff, the elastic can move around and make it a bit more shaky. Also, it's less stable than your head, like if you've got a head mount, because your body is moving around more than your head.
We're not concluding that.
Yes, yeah. Oh, and also, unlike the head mounts, you can mess up the angle really easily of this mount. So you don't really know what angle it's kind of at until you check back the footage. So now onto the last mount, which is the top of the helmet mount.
So last on the list we have the head mount. Now in our opinion this is the easily accessible mount because all you need is what comes in the box with your GoPro, and it's super easy to set up as well, which is a great idea. The cons of this mount are pretty significant. For one thing, we found the wind noise without a wind cover to be extremely poor, and it was really horrible to listen to back at the footage. So if you're going to use this head mount, we'd highly recommend getting a wind cover. And lastly, we also found that it has the least amount of trail definition as it's the highest up mount and it tends to have the least definition on the trail. But with all that said, let's get to our personal favorites. Alright, so after all that testing, in our personal opinion, the best GoPro mount will have to be the chin bar. We think this because it has the most stability and it also has pretty good trail definition and it also has good rider definition. We think this is because it also is easier to set up than say the Chesty, and it has less wind noise than the head mount. This is why we crown the full face the best mount of MTV Carnage.